And I think you hit on one of the really important factors as well, which is the people who are best placed to assess the quality and assess the outputs of these machines, because we're talking about machines effectively, are the linguistic experts, right? So as an industry, as a company, as a person, we have to drill it into ourselves, our superpowers in terms of, what are we able to do as linguists in terms of quantifying outputs and quality and value? And then what are we also able to do as humans, because we're not the machines, and we're not selling to machines either. Oh, okay, everybody's under financial pressure, companies, economies, people. And that's a very real concern. And so, yeah, it's a big topic, and it's something that's kind of evolving and changing as we speak. So I did prepare a couple of slides on this topic, which I'm going to try to share now. We can talk about some of this. So again, what I would emphasize is that, this whole AI or generative AI revolution, we're basically kind of going through the first wave of change, right? And as with many technology-related trends or fads that we've seen in the past, we'll see a wave or a bubble, and then it bursts, And so already in the media, we're seeing a lot of backlash with regard to AI. But unfortunately for us, because the language industry in which we work is structured in such a way that, it's heavily influenced by these larger enterprise technology companies who, bully these larger super LSPs, who in turn bully the smaller LSPs. So the way it's set up, of course, is quite mercenary and unscrupulous, and that's the reality in which we have to operate. So there's a few things at play here. With regard to dealing with objectives, I guess, first of all, there's always going to be what we call these immature buyers who want the fastest and cheapest solution. And you're right, there's a disconnect between how they want to portray themselves to the world and how they want to treat their suppliers, or what they want to pay for quality, or even how they define quality. As salespeople, I guess part of our job is trying not to deal with those people in the first place, And as we kind of discussed in Malta, to try to position ourselves higher up in the chain where we're talking to people who care about things like liability, who care about things like risk, and who care about things like quality. So that's one approach that we can kind of take, like a junior person who's been asked to kind of outsource the translation of a technical manual. And, like you say, especially in, a lot of languages, okay, there might be the top 5 or 6 languages where these tools work very well. But in a lot of these languages, the tools just simply don't work very well, And in many cases, the process that people are kind of dictating is actually slowing things down. There's been a lot of kind of reporting around that. But that said, the technology is not going to go away, So as experts within this space, you're right. We need to know the facts when it comes to what the technologies can and cannot do, when it comes to what the competitors can and cannot do as well. And how do we fit in there, and how do we kind of differentiate ourselves, Otherwise, because if we don't know the limitations of the technologies and the downsides, then how can we argue against them or, substantiate our own claims regarding their outputs? Now, that being said, our pricing model, which we've kind of been hanging on to for the last 20 years is also, quite broken. And so we also have to be flexible in terms of, okay, You know, is there a different way of doing things? You know, instead of charging per word, do I charge by time used, etc.? You know, the hourly rates or the, you know, the, let's say a product rate, etc., or a solution rate. But certainly the anti-AI movement is, you know, in full swing at the moment for lots of different reasons. I don't know if you guys saw the financial report that came out this week about the market capitalization of NVIDIA, which is this company which provides all of the processing chips, which is powering all of the computers and processors for all of this artificial intelligence and companies. You know, there's a whole sustainability, ecology question coming into play here as well. There's been a lot of reports about how lots of companies have jumped on AI over the last 12 months. And although there have been some concrete benefits, a lot of the things that they've tried to do have not reaped the transformational effect that they expected. Now, again, I'm not saying that, you know, I think within the translation industry, we know that AI can do things, you know, and again, it's going to be down to us to decide, okay, but is it in a linguistic perspective or is it in a project management perspective? Is it in kind of making things faster, manual tasks, but not language tasks? So there's a lot of different factors here. And I think, you know, you can see some of the headlines here. You know, it is part of our job to stay on top of all of this kind of stuff. But also what I would say is, you know, one practical thing is if we feel we're going to be threatened or given this rejection or objection all of the time, then maybe what we do is we lead with this. You know, we start in our marketing, in our reach outs, in our outreach, we start sowing the seeds of doubt with our clients immediately. So what I wanted to ask you about the context, because I wanted to make sure we're using the right arguments to the right people, you know? So is our campaign, you know, is AI coming after your job? It's come after us. But guess what? We're still here. Why are we here? Because we do X, Y, Z, you know? And I think we are, I mean, this whole planet is going to be affected by AI, absolutely, in different domains and different industries. And so, you know, I think it's important to kind of get in front of these arguments now and compare ourselves and outline all of the things that AI cannot do and all of the things that we can do. So this is just a, you know, an example of, you know, LinkedIn and the media is full of examples of translators showing us mistakes that AI makes, right? That's not a difficult thing to show, you know, and we know there's always somebody willing to do it cheaper. And we know that bad work eventually costs a company time, money, embarrassment, reputation, risk, liability, etc. So in one sense, I think, yeah, let's all learn about AI, but also let's make sure that we are, you know, comparing ourselves and contrasting rather ourselves with what we can do and what it can do and what it can't do, you know? So I think that's kind of part of the messaging that we maybe we need to use. And again, I don't know, is it a cultural thing? I don't know, is it like a sector thing or an industry thing where, you know, there's going to be some people who will always want the best quality and, you know, prepared to pay a premium. And there's going to be always people who want the cheapest thing. But again, maybe there are certain cultures or certain sectors which are more cheapy cheap than others, you know? So again, things that we can rely on is, you know, knowing our own value and knowing, you know, how, you know, learn, as you also asked about, is like, how do we articulate this value, you know? So we talk about our long-standing expertise. We talk about what we've done in the past, what our processes do, what our outcomes have been. We talk about our familiarity. You know, we talk about the hallucinations of the competitor, of the AI tools, etc. we talk about our familiarity with their specific business or their specific sectors. We talked about niches before, and our ingenuity or our humanity, our inventiveness as people that can help our clients achieve their business outcomes. So we know that people don't really want to buy translation. They want to buy more sales or better user experience or better user satisfaction. AI over here on the right-hand side, like, is riddled with problems, in terms of accuracy, in terms of bias, in terms of ethical issues, in terms of sustainability now as well. Like the amount of energy it takes for a single query in ChatGPT is the equivalent of turning on a light bulb for 5 or 6 hours or a number of days or whatever it is, So, and, I put my hand up, I use AI to remind myself of some of these things, whether I use ChatGPT or Perplexity.ai or something like that. But that kind of goes to show that at this point, the technology is here to stay. Like we all know it's there and the clients know it's there. So knowing that it's there, again, our role is to underline our humanity, our skills, our benefits, etc. But that has to also include responsible use of the technologies that are out there. Personally, I'm very interested also in not even in data security or risk or liability, which are huge things in different industries, and any kind of responsible company buyer is going to want to avoid those things. But I'm very interested in sustainability as well, and I don't really understand how buyers can expect, translation companies or linguists to do the same work and live in the same world as everybody else, but get paid, a fraction of what they were able to charge previously. So for me, there's a huge sustainability debate there in terms of the people as well. Like the industry in which we work needs to become sustainable, i.e. the people that work in it also need to be able to make a living and like a well-being, like a proper kind of lifestyle, not just kind of pick up the crumbs. So for me, it's also a question of, okay, we are the sustainable LSP. We're the responsible LSP. We're the quality focused LSP. We're going to take away risk from you. We're going to save you from being sued, as I've written down here, So these are just some of the kind of the arguments or kind of things that I think we should be thinking about. I took a quotation here from somebody else on LinkedIn again. There's lots of content out there that we can take inspiration from. So this guy says AI is becoming a differentiator until there are 5,000 companies using AI to do the same thing. And that's when the human aspect becomes more important again. So I would repeat, people want to buy from people. They don't want to buy from machines. In our branding, in our positioning, etc., we want to show our humanity. I think you asked a couple of questions about, how do we show this stuff as well? This is just a little bit about the sustainability from an ecology perspective. I mean, you guys will be aware of this, or if you're not already, you soon will be, that there's a massive energy and water consumption problem associated with these LMMs. And again, what that means is that we have to use them responsibly. And like I said, let's not forget the translator. And again, in terms of showcasing our expertise and trying not to compete on pricing, so I've kind of put two columns here. So we do that through targeting who we want to sell to. We do it through our positioning. So again, we have to define what kind of company are we? Like, are we responsible? Are we quality focused? Are we sustainable? Are we adults? Or are we just cheap, kids who don't care about the planet, who don't care about people, who don't care about security? Our branding as well can reflect that positioning. There's things we can do. And then, of course, the arguments that we mentioned and providing evidence of what we're able to do. So it's a big topic, you know, and it was one that I wasn't very kind of prepared for today. But I do feel like there's a lot of things that we can do. And then I wasn't sure if you were asking about in terms of, you know, how do we actually show information? And for, you know, one of the good things about technology is that it is helping in terms of, you know, new design tools and new formatting tools and new kind of ways of presenting information, which is great, you know, at least for us. Of course, the graphic designers may not feel the same, you know, which brings us back to the same issue. But does that help kind of answer your question a little bit?